We're halfway through 2023. Why don't you just give it up? How you doing, ma'am?
Good. I'm from police media. How you going?
How you doing, police media? I would love to talk to you.
Who are you?
My name's Avi Yemini from Rebel News.
From Rebel News.
That's it. Are
Gotcha.
you a fan? Are you a
How are you?
subscriber?
I've seen you. That's cool. So, all right. I just want to check who you were. That's all. Thank you.
Let the bosses know.
Yes. Okay. That'll be fine. Just let us know in future if you're going to come to headquarters.
Let the police know in
Just
future.
say it's our property. Just to say, just to be.
I'm not sure about letting the police know where I am before I come.
This is our property. So yeah, just to.
It's not. It's public property.
No, it's not. No, no.
You
Take
what?
your time.
Whose property? You're saying the police headquarters is not public property. You work for police media. A little bit confusing. I dare say the taxpayers in the communist state of Western Australia, confused with Victoria. Anyways, sorry about that interruption. Is it public property?
Yes.
Avi Yemini for Rebel News in Western Australia. I'm here today to catch up with three brave, two current and one former police officer to tell their story that the world needs to hear.
I'm a uniformed police officer. I've held numerous roles in general duties, so lots of police stations throughout Perth.
I've been serving since I joined in December of '96, so just over 25 years.
So just to clarify, are you here speaking on behalf of the police?
No, not on behalf of the police. I'm here to speak on behalf of myself. But unlike the other guys, I can actually speak on whoever I want to speak on behalf of. So,
Why is that?
because I resigned. I resigned from the WA Police.
So you're not bound by police policy?
That's correct, So unlike them, they obviously have policy that they still have to abide by, which includes not being able to speak on behalf of the police or anything like that. But I'll speak on whoever I want to speak on.
Mandates came in for WA Police in December of 2021, and about in November we were talking to lawyers and discussing avenues to challenge the legislation, not just for police, but for all the industries affected by the mandates that were coming down from the McGowan government and also being enforced by at the time, Commissioner Dawson.
December 2021, I was stood down as I hadn't been vaccinated, and what started as a legal defence for myself, I also became increasingly concerned the implications of what was going on with the mandates for the rest of the workforce, the rest of Western Australia, and mounted a legal defence, joined together with a bunch of other officers, and eventually we had our day in Supreme Court. Unfortunately lost that.
We ran 3 cases, 2 against the Commissioner and also 1 against the Chief Health Officer, the WA Chief Health Officer, challenging both the mandates and the order from the Commissioner to comply with the mandate. So attacking it at 2 different levels. The case against the Chief Health Officer was arguably the more important case, because that also, a win there would have provided relief for the 75% of the WA workforce. That's hundreds of thousands of workers who were compelled to take this vaccine just to go to work.
Why did you wait until the vaccines? Why did you wait till it affected you, and why didn't you do that before, for the year and a half from early 2020 until 2020, end of 2021, to stand up against the COVID tyranny?
That's a good question, and I guess a lot does go on behind the scenes that the public don't see. So like I said, I was attending the rallies as a civilian in the months and months leading up to that point. I was signing the petitions, I was going to the meetings, everything like that. We have our own police union, which is really strong here in WA. I think it has a membership of somewhere between 93 and 97% or something like that. We were doing internal motions to get them to put pressure on the Commissioner, to put pressure on the Premier to stop these mandates from coming into effect. And we knew that if they stopped us, the mandates against us, it was going to have a flow-on effect. So, I can understand where people are coming from with those views, but there was a lot of us, and not just me, there was a lot of us that weren't happy with what was happening, and we were speaking about it.
You've lost the case. What's happening now?
We listened to our lawyers afterwards, and they found that there were grounds for appeal. So we're not appealing just because we don't like the result. We're appealing because we believe there are arguments that could succeed on appeal, to have a panel of justices actually reconsider the evidence and the decision made by the initial justice. So that's the appeal that we've since lodged.
For those people that I mentioned before that say, give it a rest, mate, it's 2023, COVID's so 2019, 2020, if you fell for it for too long. 2023, get over it. What would you say to them now?
Read a history book. This is this will escalate. Where a law is made that the government can intervene more into people's lives when an emergency is declared, then it's guaranteed that the government will find reasons to declare those emergencies more often.
Why are you still fighting? Why don't you just give up? It's 2023, move on.
Yeah, it's so fatiguing. You feel like it sometimes, and some people in our group have given up. And I encourage people to do what they think is right. I'm doing what I think is right.
It's about showing our colleagues that, if you do stand up for what is right, that there isn't this crazy repercussions, discipline, it actually might work out. And, going back to just before the mandates came in and all the internal talk that was going on, our group was originally hundreds. And you can just imagine that if hundreds did say no, would that have gone ahead? And that's what we were talking about in the very beginning. Us in the police and all the other industries that we were teaming up with, if 5, 10, 15% of the workforce said no, there is no way in hell they would have gone ahead with the mandates because they couldn't have managed. And so it's about sending that message, both from trying to set a legal precedent, but sending a message to the future generations, to the future cops. If something's not right, don't just go along with it.
A year and a half later, since you've been stood down, do you regret your decision?
No, I don't regret my decision. I regret the fact that my career, which I had a pathway identified. I had 2 possible areas I wanted to go. They were very, very narrow field of skill, and I felt as if I'd pushed towards that sufficiently to have a good look in at those opportunities. And I think that's just gone now, and it's a bit sad to see that go. But there's some things that are more important than your pay and your career. You got to do what's right. So
it still hurts to this day when I stop and think about it. I was going places, I had intentions, and I had a good reputation, and without being arrogant, I was good at my job, and I had a good personality. I was good with members of the public. I was good at my job, and so I had to start again. Like you said, pretty much my entire adult life was policing, and at pretty much almost 30, I had to start again. So yeah, it was difficult, but we got there.
Would you do it again if you had to?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, in what we've seen over the last couple of years, I have yet to meet someone who regrets not going ahead with the vaccine mandates. I'm only meeting people who regret going along with it.
So to answer your question of why we continue to fight, it's because the state government has proven that they have an appetite for using this legislation, and it needs to be fought until it is repealed. And that is when we stop, not before.
At the beginning of all this, I was waiting for the union to stand up. I was waiting for a politician to stand up. I was waiting for somebody. And we got together as a group and we're like, well, what's going on? Who's going to do something? And I realised that it was us that was going to do something. And I'm still doing something about it now. And I feel it's important to continue to do something. And I will continue to do that. After 25 years, it's hard to separate out the me from the person that serves. Do you know what I mean? It's just me. I just am, and I just feel as if I need to serve, and I feel it's important for me to do this on behalf of other people. And if they can't recognise that I'm doing it for them, that's okay.
The union, when you first go through the academy as a recruit, will come in and say, join up, and you do the wrong thing for the right reason, then we will back you 100%. And there's plenty of us in this group still to this day that believe that we did the wrong thing, but for the right reason. And where were the union? Well, we're still waiting. I can see now, looking back, that it was a fear campaign, right? Whether it was intent fear, it was willful fear, or that the people pushing it genuinely believed it, I'll leave that up for debate. But there was people out there that genuinely feared what was going on, and they felt as though their safety was at risk. And I understand them being resistant to what we were doing because we were essentially part of the danger. In the years following, more and more is coming out to support what we did rather than what they did. And I think we do see some change. You know, there has been conversations that I've had with previous colleagues who have reached out and said that if they had the choice again, that they would have done things differently. And that's why we're doing what we're doing, is to show that you can stand up, and maybe next time they will too. And maybe next time if they do, and there's more of us, then it won't get to this point.
These officers have vowed to take this fight all the way to the end, to the High Court if they have to. If you want to find the details of their case and potentially how to help them in their fight, check out the details in the link below in the Rebel News article. If you enjoyed this report, make sure to like, comment, but most importantly, share it far and wide, because the mainstream media have not been fair or kind to these heroes, to these public servants, those that for up to 25 years gave their life to protect and serve the community. And then head over to rebelnews.com.au and consider chipping in to help fund our trip here to WA, rebelnews.com.au. Give what you can if you support our work.